My son's birthday wish caught me off guard, yet I found myself in agreement tales of genuine betrayal. For the past 15 years, I have been at the helm of this hotel, observing the ebb and flow of guests as they drift in and out like the tides, never lingering, always on the move. Some faces fade into the background, while others etch themselves into my memory, lingering long after they've departed. It's a role that demands a steady hand, keen observation, and the knack for sensing what others seek even before they are aware of it. At 39, I weave a narrative of a life that is structured, predictable, and orderly, or at least that's the tale I spin for myself. Yet my son Daniel has always been a whirlwind, untamed, spontaneous, and full of life in ways I could never imagine. At 17, he possesses a magnetic charm that captivates those around him. A figure of athletic prowess, possessing striking features, and an air of self-assuredness that causes whispers and giggles among the girls as he passes by. He stands at the edge of understanding, caught between the shadows of ignorance and the flickering light of awareness, unsure if he truly grasps the magnitude of the power that resides within him, or if he is merely playing a part in a grander tale. Perhaps that is the reason he observes. It began quietly, almost imperceptibly. A fleeting gaze exchanged in the lobby as he arrived to collect me after my shift. His storm-colored eyes danced over me, a flicker of something elusive that I couldn't quite grasp. In those quiet moments at home, stories unfolded. In quiet moments, there were subtle instances when I would catch his gaze, lingering just a heartbeat longer than necessary before he averted his eyes. At first, I believed it was merely a figment of my imagination. In the end, he was simply my child. What motive could he possibly possess to? I severed the thought before it could take shape. Yet the tension lingered on. In the hushed pauses that linger between us. As his eyes sought me out amidst the throng of people in the bustling room. Yet, despite my efforts to cast it aside, there remained an undeniable truth that lingered in the shadows. Daniel observed intently. And I found myself in the dark, uncertain of the reasons that eluded me. The hotel lobby buzzed with the rhythmic sounds of polished shoes tapping on marble floors, soft exchanges among business travelers, and the faint murmur of the concierge attending to a guest's question. For 15 years, I lingered in this place, observing the ebb and flow of guests, etching into my memory the aroma of freshly brewed coffee intertwined with the delicate fragrance of opulence. The hotel stood as my refuge, my stronghold, until this very night. This evening, the boundaries of my past have crumbled. James stood before me, his dark brown eyes filled with a yearning desperation. His hands stretched out to me, desperate and frantic, like a moon lost in the depths, yearning for the breath of life. My ex-husband had always been a master of persuasion, a man who could talk himself out of any mess, until a month ago when I caught him in the ultimate betrayal. The vision of him ensnared in another's sheets lingered in my thoughts, as strikingly clear as if it had unfolded just yesterday. "You can't ignore me forever, Laura," James implored, his voice a hushed whisper, yet filled with a pressing urgency. I stumbled along the way, yet I implore you not to let that overshadow the tapestry of moments we've woven together. I let out a sharp breath. My patience has frayed, stretched to its limits by weeks of unanswered calls and unreturned messages. He had inundated my phone with heartfelt apologies, weaving together memories of our shared life, and making fervent attempts to strive to regain my favor. Yet, I found myself transformed from the woman I once was when I took his hand in marriage. Forgiveness no longer came as effortlessly as it once did. "There's nothing left to erase, James," I declared, my voice steady and resolute. "All of that was accomplished by your own efforts." His jaw clenched with intensity. His effortless allure faltered beneath the burden of my refusal. He had a certain arrogance, always believing that no matter his actions, I would inevitably welcome him back. That was the way things had always unfolded until now. "I can't lose you," he murmured, drawing nearer. "You were my entire world, Laura." I stepped back, my arms crossed firmly over my chest. Perhaps that would have been a wise choice. Considered that prior to unraveling it all. Just as he was about to respond, the hotel doors swung open, ushering in a refreshing breeze of cool night air that danced through the lobby. I turned my head, and a tightness gripped my stomach. Once upon a time, there was a character named Daniel. His silhouette stood out, a figure etched in memory. With a stature that commands attention, he stands tall and broad-shouldered, exuding a confidence that draws the gaze of all around him with ease. Draped in a cozy hoodie and comfortable athletic joggers, he embodied a strength that seemed to flow effortlessly. His golden brown hair, a touch damp from what I imagined was a refreshing post-practice shower, caught the light just so. Yet, it was not his presence that sent a shiver coursing through me. It was the way his body tensed the second he beheld James standing before me. It caught my eye right away. The change in his stance, the tightening of his fists at his sides, knuckles fading under the weight of the burden. His chiseled jawline grew taut. His cheekbones flexed as he gritted his teeth. His storm-colored eyes, typically brimming with mischief, deepened into a shade far more perilous. He had always felt a distance from his father. And now he loathed him. At that very moment, James caught sight of Daniel, just as I did. And for the first time tonight, he paused. His confidence flickered like a candle flame, trembling beneath the intensity of our son's watchful eyes. Yet, I noticed how he straightened his back, as if to remind himself that he was still the man who once held a significant place in my life. Daniel, James said carefully, a smile tugging at his lips, though it never quite reached his eyes. It's a pleasure to encounter you. Daniel remained silent. Instead, he stepped forward with a slow, deliberate grace. His muscles coiled with barely restrained aggression. I recognized that gaze. I had witnessed it previously during his basketball games, when an opponent had committed a foul too aggressively or engaged in trash talk on the court. Courtroom. Yet, this was no ordinary high school rivalry. This held deep significance. My heart raced with intensity. Go wait in the car, Daniel, I urged swiftly, seeking to ease the mounting tension before it erupted. He turned a blind eye to me. What brings you to this place? Daniel's voice flowed with a low, measured cadence, yet it carried an unmistakable edge, a sharpness that sent a shiver racing down my spine. James let out a breath, running his fingers through his meticulously styled hair, attempting to embody the persona of the rational father. I had a conversation with your mother. Our past lingers, and Daniel's laughter held no joy. A quick breath escaped through his nostrils. What tales does the past hold? Is that what you would label as betrayal against her? James recoiled, his mask faltering for a fleeting moment. You fail to grasp the essence of it all. I grasp a great deal. Daniel interrupted him, his voice steady and chilling. He moved in a little closer, and for the first time, a flicker of nerves crossed James's face. My former partner had always towered over me, wielding his stature like a tool, but now. Before our son stood a young man, a figure of strength and height, brimming with an energy that felt like a tempest waiting to be unleashed. James appeared diminutive. Daniel tilted his head, his gaze sharp and unyielding. Do you truly believe you can return to this place after your actions? James released a sharp breath, his body trembling with anticipation. The top of the body. This is a matter solely between your mother and me. Daniel's fist tightened even further. Absolutely not. It is not. I moved closer, my hand resting firmly on Daniel's chest, sensing the taut strength of his muscles under my touch. His breath came in shallow gasps, and I could sense the warmth radiating from him. Daniel, I whispered, yearning to draw him back from the precarious brink he seemed to be balancing upon. Step into the great outdoors. His gaze met mine, and in that fleeting moment, a warmth enveloped us. Yet, his eyes drifted once more to James, and the steely resolve re-emerged. I'm not going to hit you, Daniel finally said, yet the tremor in his fists at his sides revealed the immense struggle it took to restrain himself. Not because you lack worth, but because she is worthy of more than yet another battle. James let out a breath, his head shaking in disbelief at the unfolding events. He stepped back, yet his gaze remained fixed on me. "This isn't over," he murmured softly. I raised my chin, my voice steady and resolute. "Indeed, James. Indeed it is." He gazed at me for what felt like an eternity, then turned and strode out of the hotel, leaving silence in his wake. Once the door clicked shut behind him, a sense of relief washed over me, lightening the burden in my chest. Yet, beside me, Daniel remained rigid, coiled like a predator poised to strike. "Hey," I murmured, lifting my hand to cradle his face just as I had done in his childhood. "All is well." His jaw was taut under my touch. His gaze remained fixed on the very place where his father had once stood. Yet, after a brief pause, he let out a slow breath, his shoulders easing down just a touch. "He's a real piece of work," Daniel muttered, his voice thick with emotion. A gentle smile graced my lips. "Indeed he is." Daniel finally shifted his gaze toward me, and for the first time tonight, the tempest in his eyes settled into a tranquil sea. "Let us return to our abode," he proclaimed. And just like that, the weight in my chest dissolved. In the midst of the chaos that James sought to unleash upon my life, and despite the relentless whispers of the past that threatened to haunt me, there stood Daniel, ever watchful, ever protective. And for the first time in weeks, a sense of companionship washed over me. The journey back was enveloped in quietude. Not the kind of silence that wrapped around you like a warm blanket, but one heavy with the weight of unvoiced thoughts. With a firm grasp on the steering wheel, Daniel felt the weight of the moment settle in. His knuckles were as pale as the moonlight against the leather. His jaw was set tight, and his stormy eyes were locked on the path before him, yet I could sense the tension coursing through him like a restless current. I had witnessed his anger before, a fierce blaze on the basketball court when a referee made a questionable call, and at school when someone dared to insult his teammates. Yet this was unlike anything else. This held deep significance. Not a single word had escaped his lips since we departed from the hotel, and this silence stirred something within me that I couldn't fully articulate. I released my breath with a gentle sigh. "Ah, Daniel. I ought to have struck him." His voice carried a husky timbre, a soft murmur that danced just above a whisper. Yet, the heaviness of those words was sufficient to seize my breath. I gazed at him, seeking the depths of his expression. "Oh, you really didn't have to do that." With a dismissive scoff, he shook his head, a gesture that spoke volumes. "Do you truly believe he was entitled to simply stroll away in that manner?" "Indeed," I declared with conviction. "For no matter his actions, he does not deserve your ire." His fingers danced upon the wheel. "The essence lies elsewhere." Then, what could it be? With a sense of weight upon him, Daniel exhaled slowly, each breath deliberate and measured. He gazed at you as if hope lingered, as if a fragment of you still belonged to him. A peculiar chill slithered down my spine. "I am not his," I declared, maintaining a calm and unwavering tone. Daniel's jaw clenched with tension. "So what made you allow him to speak with you?" Your brow furrowed in thought. I held firm and allowed him no leeway. "You chose to stay." I blinked, taken aback by the cutting tone that sliced through the air. His anger towards James was just the tip of the iceberg. His anger directed towards me was palpable. "I wished to avoid creating a spectacle right there in the heart of the hotel, Daniel." I spoke, striving to maintain a steady tone. "I took care of it." His hold on the wheel grew firmer. "There's no need for you to bear any burden." I let out a soft sigh, adjusting my position to meet his gaze completely. "Your desire to shield me warms my heart, dear one. Yet, I possess the strength to confront my own challenges." Silence enveloped the moment, his lips sealed tight, leaving the question hanging in the air. The tension in his shoulders lingered, a testament to the weight he carried. His face wore that familiar, unyielding expression. I sought to ease the furrow in his brow, to gently remind him that this burden was not his alone to bear. Yet, there was an undeniable quality in his posture, tense and poised, that caused me to pause. As I gazed out the window, the city lights danced and swirled in a mesmerizing blur. Since when did my son begin to shoulder my burdens for me? As we rolled into the driveway, the atmosphere around us crackled with unspoken tension. Daniel silenced the engine and lingered in the stillness, his gaze fixed on the house before him. You let out a deep breath. Will you be joining us indoors? He nodded slowly, yet remained still, as if caught in a moment suspended in time. There was an unsettling quality to his stillness. Daniel, I whispered gently. At last, he shifted his gaze to meet mine. His eyes, those same storm-colored eyes that had sparkled with laughter and mischief since the day he entered the world, now carried a different weight, a profound essence, something I struggled to define. He whispered softly, a hint of confusion in his voice, I just don't understand. How could he cast you aside in such a manner? I choked back the emotion that threatened to spill over. There are those who wander through life, oblivious to the treasures they possess, only to realize their worth when the sands of time slip through their fingers. His gaze deepened with shadows. Then he's a complete fool. A gentle smile danced at the edge of my lips. Indeed he is. Daniel let out a breath, his fingers gliding through his hair, and at long last, some of the weight on his shoulders appeared to lift. As we emerged from the car, the cool night air enveloped us, a refreshing embrace that whispered secrets of the evening ahead. As I turned the key and swung the front door wide, the comforting embrace of our home enveloped me, a warm welcome that felt like an old friend. Embraced by a sense of security. It resonated with me. Daniel stepped in after me, gently closing the door with a soft click. I need a shower, he muttered, his fingers brushing against the nape of his neck, a weary sigh escaping his lips. Go ahead, I said, observing him as he tossed aside his sneakers and ascended the stairs. I lingered for a moment, my heart still in turmoil. Tonight held an air of mystery, something that felt distinctly unique. Not merely due to James. Not merely due to the clash. Yet, it was the way Daniel had gazed at me that lingered in my mind. The tension in his fists, the rigidity of his jaw, spoke volumes. His voice took on a sharper edge when he spoke about James. It was more than mere anger. It was a tale unlike any other. And I found myself at a loss, grappling with the weight of that realization. In the stillness of the house, silence enveloped every corner. Daniel had been upstairs for nearly an hour, and I found myself seeking distraction in various tasks, sorting through paperwork, answering emails, even brewing a cup of tea. Yet, my mind continually wandered back to him. To the heaviness of his quietude. To the manner in which he observed me. This evening left me with an unsettling feeling that I couldn't shake off. As if a subtle change had occurred, as though an unseen boundary had been etched in the sand. Yet, I found myself uncertain if I had truly crossed that line. Or if he had. With a soft sigh, I placed my tea aside and began my ascent upstairs. Daniel's door stood ajar, a mere sliver of an invitation. I paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty. Then, a gentle tap echoed against the wood. Ah, Daniel. A moment of silence lingered in the air. Then his voice, soft and hushed. Step inside. With a gentle nudge, I eased the door open, savoring the moment. He found himself perched at the edge of his bed, freshly showered, with damp hair and skin still warmed by the lingering steam. He had transformed into a comfortable pair of loose sweatpants and a snug t-shirt. His broad shoulders were slightly hunched, a subtle hint of a tale waiting to be told. He gazed. Weary. Exposed. As I crossed the threshold, I gently shut the door, sealing the world outside. Are you all right? He exhaled gently, allowing the air to escape in a measured sigh. Indeed. Yet my doubts lingered. I approached and settled down next to him on the bed. For an extended stretch of time, silence enveloped us both. At long last. He couldn't stand the sight of him near you, Daniel confessed, his voice gravelly. Let out a breath. I understand. His hands tightened into fists resting against his thighs. He ought not to gaze upon you in such a manner. I felt my heartbeat quicken as I picked up. Daniel shifted his gaze. His eyes met mine with an intensity that spoke volumes. I don't like the way men look at you, he murmured, his voice low and filled with a quiet intensity. His voice floated softly, barely above a whisper. Something within me coiled like a spring. Ah, Daniel. His eyes deepened with shadows. His words towards you don't sit well with me. My breath was momentarily suspended. His jaw tightened. I find it unsettling how he believes he still has a claim over you. The space seemed to shrink around me. More inviting. I parted my lips, ready to share my thoughts, yet the words lingered, trapped within me. Daniel's eyes danced from my lips to my gaze, weaving a silent tale between us. And for the very first time in once upon a time, in the grand tapestry of existence, there unfolded a journey filled with twists and turns, moments of joy and sorrow, all woven together in the intricate design of life. His thoughts were a mystery to me. And that filled me with dread. The echoes of the previous night hung in the air, a palpable presence that followed me even after I stepped out of Daniel's room. Even as I lay in my own bed, staring up at the ceiling, my thoughts danced restlessly, weaving tales that would not let me rest. It was more than just James. It was more than the way Daniel had positioned himself between us, acting as a barrier. It was the manner in which he had gazed upon me. It felt as though I was his guardian, bound to shield him from harm. I shifted onto my side, drawing the blanket snugly over my shoulder, attempting to persuade myself that the shadows were merely figments of my imagination. He is your child. That was meant to be the one unwavering certainty in all of this. The singular thread that wove clarity through the chaos. And yet, there lies a whisper of possibility. A change had occurred. And no matter how hard I attempted to brush it aside, I could sense it weaving itself into the space between us. The following morning, I discovered Daniel in the kitchen, already up and about, poised at the counter with a protein shake in one hand and his phone in the other. I rested against the doorframe, observing him for a brief moment. You're up early, I remarked, my voice gentler than usual. He tilted his head just a bit, offering me a charmingly crooked smile. As the sun rises, the day begins with a dedicated practice. Journey. The game of basketball consumed his very existence. The element that anchored him to reality. Even after last night, he remained Daniel. The very same boy who had devoted his entire childhood to the pursuit of a ball. The very same soul who would drift off in the back seat of my car, surrendering to slumber after those long, grueling tournaments. His jersey, infused with the essence of sweat and triumph. Yet, that boy had vanished. The young man who stood in my kitchen was unlike any other. Loftier. More resilient. And more intense than he had ever been in all his days. I cleared my throat, dispelling the lingering thought that clung to me. In just 2 days, your birthday will arrive, I remarked as I entered the kitchen and swung open the fridge door. Have you pondered the desires that dwell within you? Daniel set his shake down and turned to lean against the counter, a moment of pause in the unfolding tale of his day. With arms folded across his chest. He lingered in his observation, his gaze holding a mystery that eluded understanding. Then, gradually, a sly grin crept at the edge of his mouth. Indeed, he remarked. I've pondered it deeply. I arched an eyebrow. And his fingers danced lightly against the countertop. His expression was a mystery, a canvas of emotions hidden beneath the surface. Let's spend the night at that hotel where you weave your magic every day. In a moment of surprise, I blinked, taken aback. What is it that you seek? His smirk grew a touch broader. It's an intriguing twist. An intriguing tale awaits. We'll summon the delights of room service, lose ourselves in the magic of movies, he shrugged, leaving the rest to the imagination. Enjoy the adventure. Paused for a moment. It was a perfectly reasonable request. In my journey, I found myself granted entry to the finest chambers the hotel had to offer. A serene and opulent retreat. Only the two of us, distant from it all. Yet, there was an unmistakable quality in his words that sent a ripple of unease through me. Yet, I managed to conjure a smile. That is precisely what you desire. Once upon a time, a night unfolded within the walls of a hotel. Daniel nodded, his gaze fixed on me with keen interest. I let out a breath, casting aside the peculiar sensation that weighed heavily upon my ribs. Very well, I replied. If that is your desire, then that is the path we shall take. His eyes took on a deeper shade, hinting at untold tales. It was as if he had anticipated my reluctance, yet here I was, agreeing with surprising ease. Indeed. I nodded, reaching for my coffee mug resting on the counter. Indeed. As I lifted the cup to my lips, I chose to overlook the subtle tremor in my hands as they cradled the ceramic vessel. 2 days later, I passed Daniel the keycard as we entered the elevator. He gently plucked it from my fingers, deftly rolling it between his thumb and forefinger. His expression was a mystery, shrouded in silence. Penthouse suite, he inquired, casting a glance in my direction. Glimmered with joy. It's a moment to cherish. On the day he turned 18. A significant moment in the journey. I convinced myself that this was the sole reason I had chosen to reserve the priciest room in the hotel. The ascent was serene, with only the gentle chime marking each floor as it glided by. At long last we ascended to the pinnacle, and the doors gracefully parted to unveil the secluded corridor that would guide us to our suite. With a gentle step, Daniel entered the room, his eyes wandering with a soft intrigue. It was a sight to behold. Windows that stretch from floor to ceiling reveal a breathtaking view of the city, while plush leather furniture invites you to sink in and relax. A king-sized bed, adorned with crisp white sheets, promises a night of restful slumber. A realm that seemed preserved in time, reminiscent of a scene from a cinematic masterpiece. I placed my overnight bag gently by the couch, as if setting the stage for the unfolding tale of the night ahead. What do you believe? Daniel turned, his gaze resting on me for a moment that felt like an eternity. It's simply exquisite. A smile crept across my face as I endeavored to dispel the peculiar sensation coiling within my chest. Excellent. As I strolled by him, making my way to the minibar, I sensed his gaze trailing after me. For the first time, uncertainty crept in, leaving me to ponder whether it was merely a figment of my imagination. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we immersed ourselves in the myriad delights the hotel had to unveil. Daniel summoned a feast, selecting a generous array from the room service menu, enough to delight the senses of all present. With a hearty laugh, he reclined on the couch, a tray of food perfectly balanced on his lap. I observed him, a grin spreading across my face as he indulged in steak, shrimp, and chocolate cake, exhibiting a wild appetite that only a young soul of 18 could possess. The most unforgettable birthday of all time. I playfully teased, savoring each sip from my glass of wine. He flashed a sly grin, casually wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Absolutely among the top 3. I let out a sigh of exasperation. Just the top 3. With a soft laugh, he placed his plate down. Grant me a moment. The evening still has tales to unfold. I chuckled, a smile spreading across my face as I shook my head in disbelief. You're truly a challenge. He shrugged, a relaxed smile playing on his lips. Yet, amidst it all, another presence lingered. A presence that remains, echoing softly in the shadows. Later that night, after we had slipped into more comfortable clothes, I felt it again. As I nestled into the couch, wrapped in the warmth of my robe, I began to wander through the myriad of channels on the grand flat-screen TV before me. Daniel settled next to me, even nearer than he typically did. The warmth of him enveloped me, the gentle rhythm of his chest rising and falling like a soothing tide. "You're silent," I whispered, casting a glance in his direction. He gazed at me for what felt like an eternity, his expression a mystery waiting to be unraveled. "It brings me joy to share this moment with you." The words flowed effortlessly, yet there was an enchanting quality in his delivery that caught my breath, leaving me momentarily spellbound. I gulped. "It brings me joy to share this moment with you, my dear." His eyes danced from my lips to meet my gaze once more. A knot formed in my stomach. "Ah, Daniel. I truly mean it," he whispered gently. The atmosphere surrounding us transformed. Dense with an essence I couldn't quite identify. I ought to have taken my leave. I ought to have chuckled it away, swept his hair from his eyes just like I used to when he was little, and gently urged him to head off to bed. Yet, I chose not to. Instead, I lingered there, my heart racing within my chest, my fingers gripping the edge of my robe with a fierce intensity. My gaze fell upon him. And he gazed straight back. As if he were in a moment of anticipation. It felt as though we were both poised at the brink of an unknown realm, a place that eluded our comprehension. And for the very first time in my existence. In that moment, uncertainty enveloped me, leaving me at a crossroads with no clear path ahead.